We are here in Craft Alliance's Steinberg Gallery, and we are in the middle of our exhibition, Treasure and Tarnish.
So Malaika and I were both artists in residence at Craft Alliance in 2018, and we got the idea to collaborate on a show about a year ago. And one of the really exciting crossover points of our collaboration is not only that we work in different media, but that we have a shared interest in history and anthropology and literature. And we landed on the fascinating topic of the 19th century archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann. He is colloquially known as the father of archaeology.
And it took about 100 years for people to realize, wait, he was not a good archaeologist.
Yeah.
He was a bad archaeologist. He was a con artist, a swindler. He made his fortune in an import-export business in St. Petersburg and then in the California gold rush. He got enough money to retire early, travel around the world, and then eventually land in Greece, where he decided he was gonna dig up some ancient sites. Eventually he set his sights on Troy and decided to prove that it existed. He actually just went and took over some research that someone else was already there doing and decided that it was his own.
One of the most significant artifacts that Heinrich Schliemann uncovered is Priam's treasure. And Heinrich decided that Priam, the king of Troy, this was his treasure and that Helen of Troy had worn it, when he really had no reason to believe that that was true.
And contemporary archaeologists believe that these artifacts that are part of the Priam's treasure collection was actually a collection that was from a few different sites within the Aegean world and crossed a time period of like 2,000 years.
And so Schliemann is this figure who really actively and compellingly conflates history and fiction. So we wanted to sort of bring those two elements together in a way that sort of enveloped the viewer. So we start this gallery show in a space that is intended to feel like a contemporary anthropological exhibit. So you have these kind of clean displays. Malaika made all of these ceramic replicas of things that would have been found in sites that Schliemann was excavating.
Loom weights and spindle whorls, drinking vessels, cups, lots of fragments. Of course, back then, Schliemann was really only interested in the sparkly things. In contemporary archaeology, we're really fixated on tiny scraps of things. They tell us almost more than the large, beautiful, museum-worthy vessels. But back then, you just want the big, pretty things. So a lot of things were discarded.
And then as you move through the gallery, we move out of that academic space into a personal, domestic space, maybe of Schliemann's own kind of cabinet of curiosities. And what we were wanting to do was bring the viewer with Schliemann into Troy itself, into this sort of fantastical imagining of this space that he was so intent upon proving to be true.
And then, of course, it becomes just full of lies.
Yes, yes, fabrications and kind of these insertions of his own story. So in that spirit, Malaika and I have put in elements of our own narratives as artists and as women and collaborators, our own writing, our own memories.
There's 4 main types of text you're gonna see a lot in the show. One is Heinrich Schliemann's journals, and he wrote in, 10 different languages. There's text that comes from a popular guidebook in the 1870s, which he basically copied word for word into his diaries. And you'll also see fragments of journals of mine, as well as some emails, e-chats, and other things that were really fun to remove from the digital world into a physical space. My favorite thing about this show is how impressed we are with each other's work, because we work in such different mediums and in such different ways that for me, I mean, every time we would show each other something we were working on, it would be like, how did you do that? So one of my greatest joys was taking Abby's drawings and being able to use several different surface decorative techniques to bring them to life in clay. And you'll see when you look around at some of her illustrations, they're just like mind-blowingly detailed and intricate and gorgeous. So they transfer beautifully onto clay, and I was really happy to work with them.
Yeah, and I equally was hugely reliant on Malaika's deep well of knowledge about this time period and this area of study. Early on in our collaboration, she sent me 2 drawings of boats, one kind of European tall ship and one Trojan ship, and I used those drawings to create 3-dimensional paper boat sculptures, and then I made 110 of them. So there was just this really kind of joyful exchange of imagery and ideas, and I hope we will continue working together because it's been just like the best creative experience of my life.